Hey everybody, welcome to the live stream. Today we're going to do one of the CompTIA's performance-based questions. We're going to focus on social engineering. I'm going to talk to you about how you should approach this performance-based question, and we're going to talk about what the indicators are for each of the types of attacks and talk a little bit about what each attack means. So this is the performance-based question on social engineering, and we're going to start out by reading this scenario. So let's read the scenario here. You are a new security support specialist for a large shipping and logistics organization. In your role, you provide support to your organization's internal users via a help desk ticketing system. Currently, you're reviewing, assessing, and diagnosing recent support tickets that are in your support system's ticket queue. Each ticket provides a description of the issue and, in some cases, additional notes from other technicians. It is important to note that many end users are not technical savvy, therefore some descriptions may require close review to fully interpret and understand the user's issues. There are 3 tickets that currently need your attention. Okay, so we have some key pieces of information here. Sometimes these scenarios, their description is completely useless. Sometimes they're very useful. Here we have some things we want to pay attention to. Okay, it says we're a security support specialist for a shipping and logistics organization. So our organization manages shipping. So we got to keep that in mind, okay? We provide support to organizations via help desk ticketing. So we're going to be receiving help desk tickets. Okay, let's keep that in mind as well. It says we might have some notes from other technicians or users. It's important to know that many end users are not technically savvy, therefore some descriptions may require close review. So it looks like we're going to be getting descriptions from users and from other technicians. So we're going to have to translate or guess the meaning of these people, what they're trying to talk about. So let's take a look at what we have here. Okay. All right, so this is designed to look like a service portal. Nothing here is clickable. So this is just an image. And we have 3 service tickets, as it said in the scenario. Open service ticket 5150, 5253, and 5259. Okay, so they're not in order. So that means that we're getting these forwarded to us probably. Okay, and we have tier 1 support notes. I'm not reading the messages yet, just looking at what we're given. So if we have tier 1 support notes, that means we're a higher tier on the tech support. So we're probably like tier 2 tech support, especially since these are out of order. These are just clues you can gather from the context clues here, and the dates are very different. Okay, so we have quite a few tickets in a day, so these are details that may or may not be useful. I mean, from the 8th to the 15th, we've had 103 tickets. I don't know if that's helpful. Okay, and then we have submitted by these people. Okay. So now we have some information. We're looking at tickets, and let's go ahead and start reading number 1. So based on the information provided in the tickets, use the drop-down selectors in each of the service tickets to select the appropriate diagnosis, adversary technique used, and adversary tactic used. So we have diagnosis, adversary tactic, or technique and tactic. Okay, let's read this first message. This is submitted by Catherine James, a purchasing temp. This is a temp worker. So this person probably doesn't have a lot of technical savvy. The message: I received an email from a routine vendor asking for a copy of the purchase of a purchase order. They're always friendly and ask how everyone is. They asked if it was okay to send a purchase order back for an update. An hour later, I received an email with a purchase order document attached. I clicked and opened it. It was a document that asked to verify banking information, which I provided. Help. Okay. All right, so we're thinking about this in a couple of different ways. First, we have some keywords here that we want to pay attention. They're going to clue us in on what type of attack this is. She says it's from a routine vendor, okay, asking for a copy of a purchase order. And the routine vendor is always friendly and asks how everyone is. We asked if it was okay to send a purchase order back for an update. Then she received an email with a document attached. So there was a document attached to the email, and she opened that attachment. The document asked to verify banking information, which she provided. So she sent banking information to probably a hacker. All right, so let's take a look at the diagnosis. All right, hoaxing, phishing, smishing, spear phishing, or vishing. Okay, so when you look at this and you see a drop down like this, you want to eliminate first, you want to define each of these in your brain, okay? So hoaxing, this is coming up with a scenario that's false, some sort of scenario that's designed to get somebody to do some sort of action. So you might say, kind of like fake news almost, okay? That's hoaxing. Then we have phishing. Phishing, as we know, is an attempt to gather credentials or information from somebody through email. So this could be considered a phishing attack. Now we have smishing, SMS phishing. This is over text message. Now she said she got an email, so it's not going to be SMS phishing. Spear phishing is targeting a specific individual or company. Okay, it's not necessarily just an individual, but it's going to be crafted to target someone or some entity specifically. And then we have the last one is vishing, and this is going to be over the phone. So we can eliminate right now hoaxing, vishing, and smishing. So we have phishing and spear phishing. Now, she says this is a routine vendor. So if this is a routine vendor, then the hacker has gone through some extra steps. They've gone through the step of figuring out who deals with this organization. So that tells us that this is going to be a type of spear phishing attack, I bet. So let's go ahead and pick spear phishing. Okay, an adversary technique. Let's see what they're asking for here. Okay, here we have backdoor, bot, key logging, logic bomb, rat, spoofing, typo squatting, or 0-day. It's a lot of options, a lot of terms you have to memorize, especially for the Security Plus. You can understand these scenarios. Okay, so let's think about this for a second. Let's take a look. What would indicate one of these types of attacks? All right, so we have, we know a backdoor is something that's installed onto our system that allows hackers to gain access to the system over and over again, bypassing normal login credentials, essentially. So we're not talking about a backdoor here because it doesn't look like anything was installed. They were just asking her to give information. She did. So this is a type of phishing attack. It's not really backdoor. It's not a bot attack because this was somebody doing this on their end. A bot is going to be a compromised system that does actions on behalf of an attacker. That's not what a bot is here. There's no evidence or nothing that's stated here that indicates that Catherine's inputs would be gathered or sniffed in some way. So it's not key logging. Logic bomb is a type of malware that's set to go off after a certain period of time or when certain conditions are met. That's not what's happening here. A remote access Trojan is a type of backdoor that is very difficult to detect and is usually installed as a type of Trojan. So it's usually the payload is initiated as a Trojan, and then the rat embeds itself usually in a very difficult to find location, such as in a kernel or some sort of hard to reach location for antivirus. Rats are pretty difficult to detect. They mimic real behavior, and we don't see any indication of a backdoor, so it's not going to be a rat. Spoofing could be an indicator here. Spoofing is when you claim to be somebody else, or and the attacker is posing as a routine vendor. We also have tier 1 support notes here. We should read this. Tier 1 support notes: looked at email message received from Jim at topsupplymerchant.com. Top Supply Merchant. So he says that this is from Top Supply Merchant. Okay, typo squatting. This is when you change either a piece of email or a piece of a website to look very similar to a real email or website, except for 1 or 2 characters. Let's take a look at this email address and see if we see anything. Received from Jim at topsupplymerchant.com. Okay, this right here is a little suspicious. Now that could be a 0. Actually, it is probably a 0 because everything else is lowercase. So if everything's lowercase, that has to be a 0. So if that's a 0, then that's a clear indication that that's typo squatting. Now that's a pretty tough one to catch, but I think that would be a 0 there. Now if it's a 0, that's a type of spoofing attack called typo squatting, where we've just changed 1 character here. to make it look like a legitimate domain. And then 0-day, this is a type of attack where there's no known fix for, there's no known security solution. So it's not 0-day. So I'm going to go with typo squatting. I think this is probably typo squatting, though that could be an O. I think that's a 0, though. Okay, adversary technique. Okay, what is the adversary using? What type of social engineering technique? We have authority, consensus, familiarity, social proof, and urgency. And these are the adversary tactics, these types of techniques these type of tactics that the adversary can use. Well, the adversary is posing. First off, they're not using authority because they're not in charge of Catherine. They're not saying that they're in charge of her. There's no consensus here. Nobody else is mentioned. I mean, Catherine mentions that she routinely talks to this vendor. So that would probably be familiarity. Okay. They're posing as a vendor that this company normally deals with. So that would be familiarity, in my opinion. Social proof. It's not really social proof. Social proof is whenever you use social norms, or you say, okay, hey, this is commonly accepted. This is a normal practice. You should do this. And urgency is, we need this information right now. There's no sense of urgency here. So I'm going to go familiarity. Okay, let's go to the next one. All right, message. I received an email from IT to install the remote app to fix my PC. Who is this submitted by? Evan Mann from shipping. Okay, so somebody from shipping probably isn't very tech savvy. They're handling boxes, logistics all day. Maybe they're doing shipping software, but they're not really doing cybersecurity. So this person, Evan, got a email. I received an email from IT to install the remote app to fix my PC. Now that's interesting. It says the remote app. I had to ship out a few boxes, so I let the support person work as he was in a rush. Okay, that's an indicator right there. When I came back, my computer was on a pornography site, and it keeps doing pop-ups. What were you guys fixing anyway? So Evan's a little annoyed here. I would be too. Okay, so he says to install the remote app. And let's see the tier 1 support notes. Found DNS or host file to be misconfigured with malicious entries. Okay, so that's the host file. That's the file that resolves URLs with domain names. So this is a type of DNS attack. That tells us right there, the tier 1 support. And the fact that it's going to different websites that's not supposed to is another indicator of that. Okay, he says the remote app. Okay, so that's an indicator there of one thing. It's telling us that he thinks that this is common. Okay, so if he thinks this is commonplace, then he was tricked in some way. Okay, so he received an email from IT. So let's take a look. These are slightly different than these. Okay, so let's talk about the terms we haven't defined yet. We defined hoaxing, phishing. Shoulder surfing is when you look over somebody else's shoulder to try and just gather credentials or see what somebody's doing on their computer. You can use a video camera to record. It's literally looking over somebody's shoulder. You term web surfing, then you have shoulder surfing by looking over their shoulder and seeing what they're doing or looking at their websites. That's where that term came from. Smishing, we talked about spoofing, vishing. Whaling is a form of spear phishing against a high priority target, somebody like a chief financial officer, a CEO, somebody high up on the ladder with maybe a lot of money, power, influence, if you gathered their credentials or you targeted them and you were successful, you would have greater levels of privileges usually, or you'd be able to do a more damaging attack. That's whaling. So this is Evan Mann from shipping, not the mastermind of the company. Not to say Evan's job's not important, but he's not going to be considered a whale. But this is some sort of phishing attack. And we don't have spear phishing on here, so we're going to go with phishing. Okay. I let the support person work as he was in a rush. That tells us something too. Let's do technique first. What would this be? Now, we know it's a DNS type of attack, okay? We talked about backdoors and bots. Credential harvesting would be harvesting some sort of credential, like a username or password or a combination of those. We don't see any indication of that. He left his computer, so he wasn't inputting anything, so keylogging is not there. A logic bomb, you could argue that this is a logic bomb, but I'm sure there's a better answer. I mean, we have this DNS file, so if there's any DNS attack, and here's one here, farming. Farming is a type of DNS attack where we alter the DNS server to point to different URLs rather than what it's supposed to. So that's going to be the indicator right there. Because it says DNS here, it's going to be farming. Spoofing, typo squatting, and watering hole. Watering hole was whenever you put malware or some sort of malicious link on a website that your targets tend to frequent. So maybe you're trying to target financial companies. You might target like the Wall Street Journal's website or the Economist magazine page and put malware there, knowing that the people you want to target go to that website for news or information. So we're going to say farming here. Adversary tactic, these should be the same, and they are. Let me get my head out of the way. These are absolutely the same. So we're going to go with urgency here because he says he was in a rush. So Evans indicated that the IT person said that they were in a rush. So we're going to go with urgency. And the idea there is that they're putting pressure on Evan to make it more likely that he won't check to see if this app is really real. And he says, okay, the IT person says, or the email says, hey, we need to do this right now. It's a critical update. So the overall benefit for the hacker in this one, I don't really see it. A lot of times hackers are trying to get something out of this one here. They're just being more of a nuisance than anything else. So probably not a very realistic attack, but we'll see. Okay, anyway, let's go to the third. Okay, I'm going to read this, get my head out of the way. All right, I received a call from one of our vice presidents. Okay, that's an indicator right there. Well, he said he was a vice president. Okay, and this is from Thomas Bond, an admin assistant. Okay, administrative assistant. He was a little angry for faxes not working. Wow, if you're angry about faxes, there's something wrong with your life. I'm just saying. I'm new here and I thought it was best to help him. He sent me a file he needed faxed ASAP. I opened it and there was no document. It's weird, but every hour my application's closed and my computer reboots. I keep losing my work. Okay, so that's a ticket. And then Tier 1 support says, found a script running in a scheduled task or in scheduled tasks to force a computer restart. So Tier 1 support found a script in scheduled tasks that forces a computer restart. And I think that's all that we see here. Every hour my application's closed. So every hour that happens. Okay. Okay, so we got a call from one of our vice presidents. So what does that tell us first off? Okay, so if we have one of our vice presidents, that's an indicator. Let's go ahead and select the tactic right away. The tactic's going to be that authority, right? Because this person's claiming to be a vice president who's mad about faxes. If it's 2022 and you're mad about faxes, you might need to reevaluate your life. I'm just saying. Okay, let's see what the diagnosis here. Hoaxing, phishing, smishing, spoofing, vishing, or whaling. Well, we got a call, right? If we got a call, so what does that tell us? That tells us it's going to be a type of attack that uses phone. The only type of attack that uses phone is vishing, unless you count smishing, but we're not getting the text here. And then the technique, now this is every hour this happens, and a script is in scheduled tasks. So let's see if there's any we need to talk about. A lunchtime attack, that's not a real thing. Logic bomb, farming, spoofing, typo squatting, watering hole. We talked about all of these. The one that's going to fit the most here is a logic bomb. Logic bomb is a type of attack that's set to go off either at a certain time or when certain conditions are met. So this is every hour. And again, this type of attack probably doesn't have a lot of benefit for the hacker. It's more like a nuisance. This is a pretty risky, I'd say, attack to just annoy an administrative assistant. Not a very realistic attack. We're not seeing a lot of benefit for the hacker. This is more like a prank, but I think that's what the answer is. So let's go ahead and finish this up, and let's see how we did. Okay, great. We got everything correct. And let's see if there's any information here that we need to talk about. The first one was pretty tough. Yeah, okay. Tier 1 support notes indicate the attack used a lookalike domain as the email address to seem legitimate. The O in the word top was actually a 0. Now, that's pretty hard to find, especially with this font. So that's a tricky one. You got to be tricky with these PBQs. They can be really tough. Now remember, you get partial credit for these PBQs. So if you go through and you miss one of these little sections, you're not going to just lose all your points. You're going to get partial credit. So don't stress on the PBQs too much. Pay attention to those key indicators, those key words that we looked at in each of these. Remember, we looked at vice president here. We looked at they're always friendly, a routine vendor, and he was in a rush. Those are key indicators of what tactic or techniques being used here. So I hope this was helpful for you guys. If you have any questions, please leave a comment, leave a chat, or email info@cyberkrafttraining.com. Be happy to answer your questions. And if you're interested in Security Plus training, we have live training classes every month on Security Plus. We have self-paced classes, we have exam vouchers, everything to help you get certified. So click the link in the description. Be happy to help you. Let's get you your Security Plus. And I hope this was helpful.